Hi. I'm going to try for a third time to read a chapter from this book. I think it's cursed. It's called The Third Mrs. Durst by Aguirre. Now, some people just need killing, and maybe I'm one of them. My husband certainly thinks so, but then he feels that way about most women. I might not survive his style of love. His first wife didn't. Neither did his second. The flames are everywhere now. It's getting hard to breathe. We'll see who dies today. Part 1, the beginning. I got on a bus when I was 16. Everything I owned fit in a backpack I stole from my cousin, and I left behind a shotgun shack with 5 younger brothers and sisters. Maybe they cried when I left, just like I did when Dee struck out on her own, but I had no mind for their tears. We didn't have an electricity, and none of us ever had shoes at the same time. I'd like to say my mother tried, but she fell into the hillbilly heroin that was the only attraction our 2-bit town offered, and never stood up again. I was lean and leggy back then, fierce cheekbones and big eyes. Not because I saw that look in fashion magazines and coveted it, but because I often went days between meals. My jeans had holes in them, and my t-shirt was so thin that it was transparent. In winter that might have been a problem, but it was sweltering, heat shimmering off the pavement like some evil wizard had cast a spell. Men swiveled their heads at me as I trudged down the street, but I was used to that. Even then I was old enough to understand the danger, but I'd also known if I'd stayed in Barrettville, I'd end up like my mom. Pregnant at 16, having babies I couldn't afford, no way out except drugs or death. So I stole enough pennies over a long year to afford a one-way bus ticket, and when the time was right, I made my getaway. I'd rather die on the streets of Nashville than become an old woman at 29. I'd been living rough, watching this burger boy for 2 weeks. I'd heard that a man I needed to meet sometimes stopped here. Del Morton was known among the city street kids. If he took a shine to you, your life changed. Period. I was determined to snatch that golden ticket one way or another. Washing dishes for a few dollars under the table kept my belly full, but I still didn't have a safe place to sleep. Things would change soon. I had nothing but determination back then, and if sheer willpower could push me to succeed, then my plans were already etched in the atmosphere. Skywriting that promised Marlena Altizer will make her dreams come true. I spent a couple of dollars on a value meal, waiting to see if Del Morton would show. The fries were greasy, salty, and I savored each bite of the burger, too. Eating like that, I made the food last almost an hour, hiding the fact that I had nowhere else to go. My lingering didn't seem to bother the employees. One boy cleared the tables near me, wiping them longer than necessary as he tried to make eye contact. He couldn't help me in the slightest, so I didn't pay him any mind. Jenny Song came in then. She was a girl who had helped me find my current squat, younger than me but more experienced at living on the street. "Any luck?" she said. I shook my head. Nothing yet. She was incredibly beautiful, even at 14, with long black hair, delicate features, and light brown eyes that shone like topaz. The supermarket just tossed out the expired stuff. I got some food for us. "I saved you half my burger and fries." I slid the tray toward her, and she gave me a smile that never failed to sparkle through me like fancy fizzy water. After Jenny ate, we couldn't loiter anymore. She headed for the bathroom while I strolled toward the door. I nearly ran into a man in a crumpled business suit. He had high color in his cheeks, more than 2 days of stubble on his jaw, and wore a straw Panama hat. Del Morton. Finally. I'd promised Jenny that if I got him to sign me, I'd get her in too. Somehow. All part of the plan. His gaze swept over me in a way I was used to, more than I should be, except his pale eyes lacked that usual spark. This was more of a sweeping assessment. The look lingered on my bulging backpack. "You ran away from home," he said, instead of, "Pardon me." "No running involved. Not that it's your business." I nodded at him as I passed by, feigning indifference. His reputation didn't give me the impression that Morton was a groper, but I'd been grabbed enough to half expect a hand on my ass anyway. He stopped me with his words instead. "Let me buy you a Coke. We might have something to talk about." Smiling, I followed him to a table where I sat down to wait while he went to the counter. He got my Coke, and for himself only coffee, a big one, that he gulped black and hot despite the sweltering weather. Normal girls wouldn't chat with an older man like this, but their mothers had probably spoken words of warning, whereas mine had been telling me to take the hand of anyone with money to spend for as long as I could remember. I sipped at my Coke, relishing the infusion of sugar. "Sorry," he said. "I've been driving for 8 hours." He did look like he'd come a far piece on a hard road. "What do you want?" I should introduce myself. I'm Del Morton. He pulled a business card from his wallet and slid it across the table. It read UMAX, his company name, and below that, Del Morton, talent agent. Finally, the card stated his contact information, including a cell number. I'd heard of mobile phones, of course, but I didn't know anyone who had one. He must bring in good money. "What does a talent agent do?" I already knew, but men liked it when they believed they were teaching you something. Wide eyes and a curious expression had gotten me all the way here. Just then, Jenny came out of the bathroom and stopped where the tiled hallway met the side doors. She raised her brows, a wordless question evident. With an imperceptible nod, I confirmed it. "Yes, he's the one." "An excellent question. The simplest answer is that I scout photogenic young men and women and find them modeling work." Bullshit. That was expected. If I hadn't already done my homework, I'd be skeptical of this offer. Since I'd been angling for this and starving for it, I could hardly control my euphoria. "If you don't believe me, walk away. I'm almost done with my coffee and I have a meeting in 40 minutes. But a hungry light sparked in his eyes. The fact that I was reluctant must have made me seem like a better catch. "Maybe I'll ask a few more questions," I said. "Such as? What kind of jobs do you find?" In reply, he produced a folded page from his inner jacket pocket. "This flyer features 2 of our models." It was an advertisement like you might notice posted at a bus stop or on a telephone pole, promoting a sale at a sporting goods stores. The models were all geared up like they were about to go play tennis or golf. "What else?" "We've placed people in department store shows and local catalogs, a few regional TV commercials. I can't promise to make you famous, but with that face, you could make some money, enough to pay for college, maybe." College would have been impossible in Barrettville. I didn't tell him I'd stopped school after junior high. People in the hills where I'd lived were born in bathtubs, not under lucky stars. But maybe I could change my fate. I beckoned Jenny over then. "If you sign me, you take Jenny, too. She's even prettier than I am." He gave her the once-over, the same as he had me, and he tilted his head, thoughtful. "It's rare that I do this, but all right, you've got a deal. Does that mean you're willing?" I nodded, and Jenny bounced beside me. We were on our way. "So what's the first step?" "First off, I'll need to get your teeth fixed. Then we take some pictures and send out your headshots, add you to our company portfolio." "Just tell me where I can go," I said. The business card he'd given me didn't have an address printed on it, so he took it again and wrote on the back. "What's your name, Miss Altizer?" I answered. "You can call me Marlena, and this is Jenny Song." "Nice to meet you both. We can probably launch you under your first name. It has a classic ring." My mama thought so anyway. I wasn't about to list all the things she'd been wrong about. Maybe my name wasn't one of them. Del Morton seemed to be thinking and then asked Jenny, "Do you have a Chinese name in addition to an American one, Miss Song?" "Song Li Hua." "Why?" "It's pretty. I just thought I might be able to market you better in the East if you did." "I don't mind working under either name," she said. He nodded. "I'll be in touch. If you need a place to stay, I've written down my office manager's name. She's often willing to let aspirants sleep in her spare room until they sign officially, and we assign them a bed in one of the apartments we rent for our models. You supply room and board? I hadn't heard that. Morton shook his head, his foot tapping with a touch of impatience. I don't pay the bills, but my name is on the lease. You may end up sleeping in a closet, but you already know I'm not promising glamour. Modeling is tough and competitive. You should know that from the start. I smiled. I nodded as he drained his coffee and stood. This promise of a bright future, of pretty, straight teeth that would let me smile without sealing my lips like I knew a secret, those changes would open so many doors. Somehow Jenny and I stayed calm until he left, and then we were jumping and screaming right there in the Burger Boy. I can't believe this worked. Her arms went around me tight and close, and I hugged her back. We should call that office manager. There's no reason to go back to the squat if we have a better choice. Tugging her toward the payphone, I realized I didn't have enough to call, but Jenny added a dime. The phone rang twice, then a woman said, Hello, this is Pamela. Hi there, this might seem strange, but Del Morton just gave us his card and your number. He said you might be willing to let us stay for a few nights. He asked us to sign a contract with you, Max. Mr. Morton just called me. He does like picking up strays, she said. But you must be beautiful because he doesn't waste his time on less. Thank you, seemed like the appropriate response. This must seem overwhelming and a bit risky, but my house is likely safer than wherever you're staying now. Since Jenny and I slept in turns, this woman had got it right. I'm ready. What's the address? I got a pen and a scrap of paper out of my backpack, jotted down the information, and repeated it back to her. Thank you. We'll be there soon. It's a couple of miles, Jenny said once I hung up. Are we really doing this? With a firm nod, I took her hand. This is what we've talked about since we met, practically. You heard about what happened to Dee, and we can't turn aside now. Are you in for the long haul? In answer, Jenny pulled me toward the door.